Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So, finally, a video getting made. It seems like it's been forever since I made a video with actual reloading content or, um, or some data that we can look at, compare, kind of chew on. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a crazy month of February. I've traveled every week in the month of February, and so shout out to my good friends who over in Israel. Really enjoyed hanging out with y'all. Glad I got to see you again. It's been too long, so enjoyed that. And then also, before we even dig into the video, big shout out to a few different places that I like to shop that I've recommended in videos before. Of course, Mr. Big Guns over in Huntsville, Alabama. Matt and his staff have always done a great job from the first time I stepped foot in that store. 4 years ago, somewhere in that range, I believe it was. They've always treated me well, and I enjoy shopping there. So shout out to those guys. You can shop online, or if you're local, definitely swing by. And then Midway Pistol and Ammo out in Gurley. Robert and Mark, those guys, they've always been great to me as well. They're going to donate some door prizes for an upcoming event. Same thing with Mr. Big Guns. They've actually donated the grand prize on the giveaway for the upcoming event we have going on at the church that I attend. And then so they're great to deal with out in Gurley, Alabama. And then also Duck Creek Sporting Goods. That's another maybe not as well known online store that I would highly recommend. Denny, he does a great job. He's been great to work with as well. He's got a good selection of brass, bullets, all that stuff. So go check out his store online. I believe he's out in Colorado. And then also just this first part's just general housekeeping stuff. We've got two big events coming up at the church that I go to, Sheepgate Christian Fellowship. It's over in Paint Rock Valley, Alabama. We have a men's conference coming up March 5th. It's called the Pace Setters, like a pace car, pace setter. Men's conference coming up March 5th. And then we have the Wild Beast Feast coming up March 12th. So I'll probably make another video talking maybe some more details about what's going on at both of those events. But we have those two big events coming up, March 5th, March 12th. Those are both Saturdays. Y'all come out. The men's conference, y'all show up, come hang out with us. It's a great time to fellowship together and dive into the Word of God and just praise Him for everything that He's done for us. We're so blessed. And then also March 12th with the Wild Beast Feast. We put on that event last year, had a great turnout, and then looking to have another great turnout this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of really good food will be cooked and prepared, and the tickets, I believe, are $15 for a ticket. And then like I mentioned earlier, Mr. Big Guns, Matt, he's already agreed to sign up for the grand prize on the giveaway. It's a $500 gift certificate to Mr. Big Guns. So that's going to be the grand prize on the drawing. So y'all come out, hang out with us. Looking forward to that. But the topic of today's video, if you guys have been following along here, it seems like I've been dragging my feet on getting these two projects done for my buddy Brett. He probably feels that way, and I need to reach out to him and let him know, look, I'm going to try to knock these things out. I promise you, I'm getting closer. But we're talking about 6.5 PRC and 6.5 Creedmoor. In today's video, it's going to be somewhat of a comparison. It's not apples to apples though, so I know people are going to leave comments below about how N565 is a terrible powder for 6.5 Creedmoor. It's too slow of a burning powder. You need something like N555. I'm not going to argue that because I completely agree. But if you go back and watch some of the earlier videos when I discussed these two projects, I found an 8-pound jug of N565. I'm on my second cup of coffee already, but FYI. no, I'm about to be on my third cup. So I discussed this in previous videos. I found an 8-pound jug, okay? So I've got 8 pounds of a specific powder. Lapua has load data, Vitavori. Lapua has load data for this powder in 6.5 Creedmoor. So that's what we're basing all of this off of. Is it's kind of a good comparison if you want to talk about 6.5 Creedmoor versus 6.5 PRC, right? Because we're using the exact same bullet, the exact same powder. So, you know, you should be able to get a decent idea. And again, this is not the most optimal powder for 6.5 Creedmoor, but this will kind of give you an idea of what you can achieve with the 6.5 PRC, right? Why it is a desirable upgrade in some cases to the 6.5 Creedmoor. I'm a huge 6.5 Creedmoor fan. I've had very good luck with it in multiple rifles in the past. Very easy to load for, very accurate, at least the rifles that I've had. It's just really, it's been a very forgiving cartridge to load for. 6.5 PRC is brand new to me. Right now I have put, I don't know, however many rounds down it. I mean, we've got velocity data for all of this. So that's how many times plus the factory ammo that I shot. And so it's new to me, but I think it's a great upgrade if you're looking to bump up your velocity. If you're a hand loader, you know, I caveat that with, if you're a hand loader and, you know, you have a 6.5 Creedmoor, you can definitely magnemize it, if you want to call it that, by using certain powders, right? If you go watch Johnny's reloading bench, watch his 6.5 Creedmoor series, he uses Reloader 26 and the Burger 135, I believe, and he's up over 2,900 feet per second, I think, something like that. Just crazy velocities for a 6.5 Creedmoor. So Reloader 26 is from what I understand, is a very, very good velocity powder for 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, good luck finding it. So that's kind of, I understand people are going to probably make that comment in the comments below. Hey, just go get Reloader 26 and use it in your 6.5 and you can bump up your velocity quite a bit. So there's no point in getting a 6.5 PRC. I hear you. That's a valid argument. But if you find Reloader 26, then tell me where it's at, okay? Because I'll go buy some. So it's just a very difficult powder to come across, right? Even when it wasn't pandemic craziness, it was still a very, it's like H4350. It's a very good powder, just a, you know, kind of difficult to come by on a regular basis. So, but, and also, so for the people that love it when I just ramble and these videos, in their opinion, are way too long, man, this video is for you. This will not be a little bit lengthy because we're just going to talk. We're going to ramble, and we're going to do some comparison, right, between the 6.5 PRC and the 6.5 Creed. This is from my buddy Brett here, okay? And we'll start off with the let's start off with the Creedmoor, okay? So he's got a Savage Axis. He's got an ATN scope on it. I actually pulled that off and put the AIM Sports Alpha 6 scope on it. So that's what I'm using just for testing purposes. It's a 4.5 to 27 power second focal plane. Good enough scope to get the job done just for some low development. And we're using a 140 grain Spear Gold Dot, Remington 9.5 large rifle primer, and there's our cartridge overall length 2.750. That's one that has worked very well for me in the past in other rifles that I've loaded 6.5 Creedmoor. So that was the overall length we went with. I believe that's what's called out in the manual. And I don't think I've really tweaked that overall length very much. I've had just very good luck with that standard overall length right off the bat with other rifles. So I didn't really want to play around with it too much. We might though, once we get into it and settle on a powder charge, we may mess around with that just to see if we can improve the accuracy one way or the other. So, but yeah, so let's get into basically what I did. I started off on the 6.5 Creedmoor stuff. What I ran into, the issue I ran into, this was the original, my plan was to load starting at 45.2 and work my way up in 0.2 of a grain increments. The issue with this powder, because it is such a slow burning powder, is your case capacity in a 6.5 Creedmoor case. I showed the brass, I believe I showed the brass in a previous video. It didn't look like Starline brass to me, but I've had people comment and reach out saying, no, that is actually Starline brass. So I don't know if it was if it was used for a factory ammunition loading. I got it from my cousin. It was once fired, got it from him, and he shot factory ammo. So it's some type of factory offering that from a company that utilizes Starline brass. It just didn't look the same as what you would buy straight from Starline. So I'm pretty sure that's what we're working with here. But yeah, so that was the intent, was to start there and work my way down. The problem was case capacity. It just, man, it's such a slow burning powder. I mean, you know, I started off at that 45.2 and I was like, holy smokes, that's a pretty full case. And so I stepped it down and I revised my plan and started much lower. Well, and then by doing that, obviously our velocities are pretty anemic on the 6.5 side of the house. I mean, 2,700 should be, that's what my load is for, and I'll, you know, mention that here. My H4350 load, I think it's 42 grains of H4350. This is the hunting load that I use with the Spear 140 grain gold dot. That's what I use to kill the 8-point this season. That is right at 2,700 feet per second out of my Kimber 84M Hunter. So somewhere in that 2,700 feet per second range is kind of what I was hoping to achieve in the Savage. I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more velocity since this is a slower burning powder, but we cross over into that, you know, you're on that fine line and then you go too far one way with the burn rate, and now you just can't get there velocity wise because you run out of case capacity. That is the problem with this powder in this cartridge. If you use something like N555, I'm sure you'd be much better off, but N565, really slow burning powder. And so that was kind of where we started. And then, you know, obviously just wasn't happy with the results that we got, you know, in terms of velocity. I wanted to push it and get a little bit more. So we came back, I came back, loaded up some more for a second go at it, loaded those up, and was like, okay, I made it up over 2,500. That's nowhere near 27, so I need to just jump a little bit higher. Oh, the iRobot vacuum cleaner over there just came off his base, and yeah, it's kind of weird. He's heading back into position now, whatever. He's employee of the month every month around this house. And so I wanted to go ahead and make a jump. So we went ahead and jumped up to 46.5 from 45.6, which put us up over 20, you know, right at 2650. And then I was only able to load up to 47.5 is where I stopped, simply because I had to actually kind of tap on the cases to get the powder to settle, to be able to, you know, to feel comfortable about seating a bullet. I mean, that's the type of case fill that we're talking about, okay? So it's very full case, almost basically up to the mouth of the case. And so that was pretty much where I just wanted to call it quits, was at 47.5 and see what the velocity looked like. And so that was, you know, that put us 47.1, put us at 2704, and then we dropped back down a little bit. I wasn't too thrilled about that, 2667 with 47.3, and then we're right back at 2708 at 47.5. So that's gonna be the range that we're gonna work in. We may just go with that 47.5. I don't really know. That might be what we use. 47, somewhere in that range. Okay, so I haven't really settled on an exact charge to start, starting point. It may just be the 47.1, and then we'll load up some 5-shot groups from 47.1 up to 47.5, maybe just jumping in 1/10 of a grain increments. I don't know. Again, keep in mind, and someone's going to mention this in the comments. Yeah, I'm using an RCBS Charge Master Light, right? Plus or minus 1/10 of a grain accuracy. So someone's going to make that argument. They're going to make a comment about the entire tolerance range and how none of the charges could really be. It's not a great test to run because it could throw a 1/10 under and then a 1/10 over, and now you know, whatever. okay, I'm not going to go out and spend $1,000 on a scale. Not going to do it. So this is the way I'm going to load it up. It is what it is. This will get the job done for what we're trying to do. This is simply a hunting ground for white-tailed deer. And so 2,700 feet per second with 140 grain gold dot will drop the hammer on a deer. I've already done it. So we're going to start there, and then we'll just bump up, you know, maybe by a tenth. We may just load, you know, we may just do 3 5-shot groups. We may load at 47.1, 47.3, and 47.5. See what those 5-shot groups look like at those charge weights, and then if we have something that's promising out of those 3, you know, we may load up more and check our velocity and see what our velocity looks like in that range. Because, you know, if it wouldn't have been for that, I mean, because you even come back here at 2673, now you can even include 46.9 into the mix, because, you know, you did drop back down to 2667. So you've got that area that I want to explore. That's for the 6.5 Creedmoor, so keep that in mind, okay? Case capacity is our limiting factor. When you switch over to the 6.5 PRC, you'll see here it's the Ruger M77 Hawkeye Long Range Hunter. Very sweet rifle. He's got the Zerotech Thrive HD scope on it. Very nice hunting scope. Spear 140 grain gold dot, and we're using the CCI 250 large rifle Magnum primers. There's your overall length and cartridge-based ogive information for those of you that are wondering. I've mentioned why I started so low on my charge weight in previous videos. Go back, watch those. I'm not gonna bore you with the details of that. I explained that thoroughly in previous videos, so go watch those. But we started off low. Velocities were anemic for a 6.5 PRC, and then we simply worked our way up from there. Basically in 3/10, we were jumping 3/10 for a while until we made it up to 57 grains. And then once we transitioned over to 57 grains, we started jumping in 2/10. You know, we started to get up over 2,800 feet per second, right around that range. And so from then, I really just wanted to slowly approach, you know, possible max. You know, someone made a comment on a previous video, just wasting components. I have a YouTube channel. Like, this is a hobby. I mean, if my life depends on my reloading components, we're in a sad state of affairs. So it's just a hobby, guys. Calm down. You know, so it's not that big of a deal that I burned through some components for this. Plus, I feel like it's provided at least some level of meaningful feedback and data for those of you that may have a 6.5 PRC and you're wanting to use that 140 grain gold dot. You're not going to find load data for it, you know, and this powder combination. So I feel like this is useful to at least somebody out there. And so we started working our way up from there until our last range session just the other day, sometime, maybe 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, who knows at this point. Finally worked all the way up to 61. I did start to crater the primer around this range, right in here at 61 grain charge. I did start to crater the primer a little bit. But if you'll look, this is gotten into a larger graph than what I normally use. But you look right here at the top end, what we were looking at from 60.2 to 60.8, you know, we're only looking at an 11 foot per second spread. So 11 feet per second spread between those 4 different charge weights, right? And we're jumping in 0.2 grain increments each time. So that was very promising. Let's see, let's switch back. Look at the paper version. So yeah, so that's very promising. I want to live somewhere in this range. It'll probably be the exact same thing as I do on the Savage. I'll probably, in this case though, it may be something like 60.4, 60.6, and 60.8. I might load up 3 5-shot groups, see what those look like. Accuracy wise, if one of them performs better than the other one, you know, than the other 2, whatever, if they all 3 shoot great, Okay, that's even better. We have more options to go with. But I think that's the range that we're going to work in. So I probably just need to get those loaded up, go test them out, see what it looks like on paper, group size, size-wise. I don't have the target with me right now, but it did, toward the top end, I did have better results on the target when I was testing velocity. So they did group tighter together once I got up here on the top end, and these velocities became more consistent. I did see better groupings, you know, and again, when you're changing charge weights like this, the accuracy is not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about trying to define and evaluate and find, you know, sort of these plateaus in our velocity where possibly we have a forgiving window that we can work in accuracy wise. And so we achieved that. We found that up here on the top end. You know, we had a couple of different areas that we could even explore, you know, even from 59.2, you know, that was 29.54, and then it kind of slowed back down a little bit and then back to 29.51. So, I mean, even in that range there, you know, if we wanted to go explore there, but I'd like to kind of push that velocity a little bit higher. And so we're going to stick somewhere in this range. It'd be great if we could average 29.85. It may end up being about 29.80, 29.75, somewhere in that range when it's all said and done. But that's the type of difference that you're talking about. You know, this is a direct comparison powder, you know, same powder in a different cartridge, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC. 6.5 Creedmoor, because of the limiting factor of case capacity, we can only get up to 2,700 feet per second. And then here with the 6.5 PRC, we could probably hot rod it a little bit, you know, and push it a little bit harder. If it were my rifle, I might do that, but it's not mine, right? And there's no need to, you know, this bullet traveling at that speed, that's elk medicine all day long, which is what this cartridge would be used for. Which is what the rifle, the whole setup will be used for. He plans on going on an elk hunt, so that'll get the job done. So that's the window, that's the range that we're gonna work in, is the 60.2 up to, we'll start at 60.4, and we'll just load 3 5-shot groups at 60.4, 60.6, and 60.8, okay? And then, yeah, and we're using once fired Hornady brass. That's what we're using at this point. Now it's twice fired. I believe I've gone through, yeah, the brass. I believe it's got 2 firings on it now. So that's gonna be the plan moving forward. For the 6.5 Creedmoor, we'll just stick with the top end here. Same thing, it'll be 47.1, 47.3, and 47.5. We'll load up 3. I'm thinking 5-shot groups. I may change that. I may just do 3-shot groups, and that I may do that just to fire up people even more, because people think there's no value in a 3-shot group. I may do that just to see what kind of you know, raucous we can stir up in the comments about people claiming that 3-shot groups are meaningless, which you can get some good feedback from a 3-shot group, because if you have a 3-shot group that's a 1-inch group, you know, it's not going to get any smaller than that, right? If you load up 3 shots, you load up, I don't care, you load up 10 shots, and your first 3 shots, and it's a 2-inch group, hey guys, it ain't getting no smaller, so move on, right? I mean, you can load up, I don't care, you can load up 3 10-shot groups if you want. If I shoot the first 3 and it's an 1.5 inch group, well, then the best it'll be is an 1.5 inch. If I stack the other 7 within that group, it's an 1.5 inch group. So I understand that you do want to prove out the load over a larger sample size over time, but just to get some really quick initial feedback, 3-shot groups are not a terrible thing to do. You know, that we'd be loading up 9 for each, and then we go out, I shoot those groups, we get some really good quick initial feedback of maybe all 3 of them shot great, they all 3 shot very similar, maybe 1 shot far and away better than the other 2. It kind of can help point you down a path. Now also the flip side of that, if you want to play devil's advocate, is, well, 3-shot groups, if you shooter induce error, right? And then you pull one, now you don't really have that great of a sample size. You've got 2 shots touching and maybe you pull one. Would that third one have been stacked in there? I don't know, right? So I get it. There is a good argument all the way around. Really, what you have to do is find what works best for you. You know, find that method, find whatever you feel comfortable doing, 3-shot, 5-shot, 10-shot, whatever. And then just do that and stick with that. So that's where we're gonna leave it. I'm hoping now that I'm home, fingers crossed I'm home for at least a week would be great, before I have to travel again, maybe. You know, now that I'm actually home and I'll hopefully have a little bit of time to get some reloading done, I can get both of these loaded up, get to the range, test them. I've got to get this stuff done so I can get the rifles and the ammo back to my buddy. So that's where we're going to leave it. And we'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a good one.